Did you know that children made up nearly a third of those forced onto slave ships? This is the hidden history of African children, a story spanning millennia, from ancient kingdoms to the challenges of today. Join us as we uncover their triumphs, their struggles, and their enduring spirit. Our story begins in Nigeria, thousands of years ago, with the Nok culture. Around 1000 BCE, the Nok people were masters of ironworking. Terracotta sculptures offer glimpses into their daily lives, revealing that children as young as 5 years old were likely involved in farming and mining. These weren't idle children, they were active participants in their society's economy. Moving south to Sudan, we discover the Kingdom of Kush, a powerful civilization that rivaled ancient Egypt. While known for its warrior queens like Amanirenas, the kingdom also had a darker side. Inscriptions reveal the practice of child sacrifice during times of famine. Yet, Kushite children also held positions of power. Royal children were trained in warfare, preparing them to rule and defend their kingdom. The Bantu expansion, beginning around 1000 BCE, saw populations migrate from West Central Africa across the continent. Children were integral to this movement, carrying traditions, knowledge, and skills to new lands. Archaeological findings at Great Zimbabwe reveal child burials adorned with iron tools, suggesting their importance within Bantu communities, even at a young age. But perhaps the most tragic chapter in the history of African children is the transatlantic slave trade. From the 16th to the 19th centuries, an estimated 12 million Africans were forcibly taken from their homes and shipped to the Americas. Children comprised a significant portion of these captives, sometimes as much as 30%. Oloda Equiano, kidnapped from Nigeria at the age of 11, and Otobokugo Eno, enslaved from Ghana at 13, are just two examples of the countless children who endured this horrific journey. The conditions on slave ships were brutal. Disease was rampant, and the survival rate for children was less than 20%. Traders initially preferred adult slaves, viewing children as less valuable. However, the demand for labor eventually led to the increased enslavement of children. The colonial era brought new forms of exploitation. In the Belgian Congo, thousands of children were forced to work on rubber plantations, often facing horrific conditions. The Casement Report of 1904 documented the appalling treatment of these child laborers, with mortality rates as high as 50% due to exhaustion and abuse. Beyond forced labor, colonial imagery often portrayed Africans as childlike, justifying European domination. This infantilization trope perpetuated harmful stereotypes that continue to affect perceptions of Africa today. Jump ahead to June 16, 1976, in Soweto, South Africa. Thousands of black students, protesting the apartheid regime's imposition of Afrikaans language education, took to the streets. The Soweto uprising, led by figures like 17-year-old Teboho Tsietsi Mashinini, became a pivotal moment in the fight against apartheid. Tragically, police responded with violence, killing hundreds, many of them children. The image of 12-year-old Hector Peterson being carried by a fellow student became a symbol of the brutality of apartheid. The Soweto uprising sparked international outrage and helped galvanize the anti-apartheid movement. The sacrifices of these young protesters paved the way for a new South Africa. Today, Africa has the youngest population in the world, with 600 million people under the age of 18. This demographic dividend has the potential to drive economic growth, but it also presents significant challenges. Conflict continues to plague many parts of the continent, with millions of children affected by violence and displacement. Boko Haram's abduction of the Chibok girls in 2014 is a stark reminder of the dangers faced by children in conflict zones. The COVID-19 pandemic has further exacerbated these challenges, with millions of children dropping out of school. But amidst these challenges, there are also stories of resilience and hope. Organizations like SOS Children's Villages are working to provide care and support to vulnerable children. The African Union's Agenda 2063 aims to achieve universal secondary education by 2040. And young Africans are using their voices to demand change. From the protests in Nigeria to the Sudan protests of 2019, youth are at the forefront of movements for social and political reform. However, the history of African children is not without its controversies. The suppression of African child memoirs, like Equianos, seeks to minimize resistance and highlight victimhood. Furthermore, modern denialism in some African curricula downplays the role of intra-African slave sales. Western narratives often perpetuate harmful stereotypes, portraying Africa as a continent of helpless children in need of saving. It's crucial to recognize the agency and resilience of African children throughout history. The history of African children is a story of resilience, resistance, and hope. Despite facing immense challenges, they have continued to shape the continent's past, present, and future. By understanding their history, we can work towards creating a brighter future for all African children.